to connect a region of over 600 mil bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region on today's headlines. The devastating earthquake on the Indonesian island of Lombok was exceptionally destructive and wiped out entire villages. In the worst-hit regions, relief agencies warned as the death toll jumped to more than 340. Thailand granted citizenship to stateless members of the football team rescued from a cave last month in a saga which gripped the world. And ASEAN celebrates its 51st anniversary.
Thank you very much.
The devastating earthquake on the Indonesian island of Lombok was exceptionally destructive and wiped out entire villages in the worst-hit regions. Relief agencies warned as the death toll now jumped to more than 340. Sutopo Purwo Nugroho, the spokesman for the National Disaster Agency, has repeatedly said the number of deaths will increase. Search and rescue teams have been working to access those in the worst affected areas, close to the epicenter in northern Lombok. Relief efforts have yet to reach parts of the island 4 days after the quake hit, as hopes fade of finding further survivors among the wreckage. Local authorities, international relief groups, and the central government have begun organizing aid, but shattered roads have slowed efforts to reach the survivors in the mountainous north of Lombok, which bore the brunt of the quake. Tens of thousands of homes, businesses, and mosques were leveled by the quake, which struck on Sunday as evening prayers were being said across the Muslim-majority island. There are fears that two collapsed mosques in North Lombok had been filled with worshippers. Rescuers have found 3 bodies and also managed to pull 1 man alive from the twisted wreckage of one mosque in Lading village, while at least 1 body has been spotted under the rubble in Pemenang. Sunday's earthquake triggered at least 230 aftershocks, which were expected to continue for the next 2 weeks. The USGS reported a 5.2 magnitude earthquake just off the coast of Lombok between the tourist town of Senggigi and the Gili Islands on Monday at 11:50 p.m. It also reported a 5.4 magnitude quake at 2:21 a.m. on Tuesday, close to the site of the Sunday's 6.9 magnitude quake. Lombok had already been hit by a 6.4 quake on July 29 that killed 17 people and briefly stranded several hundred trekkers on the slopes of the volcano Mount Rinjani. The Royal Thai Armed Forces are ready to mobilize troops and equipment to help people in flood-prone areas of Phetchaburi province. The spokesman for the Ministry of Defense, Lieutenant General Kongchip Tantrawanit, said that the Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister, General Prawit Wongsuwan, has instructed the armed forces to provide support to related agencies handling water management issues in the province and assist the people affected by the overflow of the Kang Krachan Dam. Thailand is in the middle of its rainy season, which often generates flash storms. The Meteorological Department said more storms are expected between August 7 and 9. Thailand suffered its worst floods in half a century in 2011. The floods killed more than 900 people, crippled industry, and dented its economic growth. Meanwhile, Laos has suspended consideration of new hydropower projects in the country pending reviews of development policy after the breach of a dam last month that left at least 34 dead with 100 still missing. The $1.2 billion dam, a joint venture between South Korea, Laotian and Thai firms, broke after heavy rains and submerged about a dozen villages in one of Laos' poorest provinces. Homes and farms were washed away instantly, and panicked residents ran into the forest or onto rooftops, desperately seeking safety after they were given little warning of the impending deluge. Laos Minister of Energy and Mines, Kamani Inirat, had said the poor construction may have contributed to the accident. and the government would launch an official investigation into the costs. One of the South Korean companies involved in the project, SK Construction, said it would confirm possible compensation packages after the probe is complete. Lao villagers displaced by flooding following the dam's collapse are meanwhile filling temporary tent shelters in Atapu Province's Sanamaksay district as concerns mount over health and sanitary conditions at the site. Diseases now spreading among the nearly 3,000 residents of the camp include diarrhea, eye infections, and skin rashes, according to Onpu Ponilat, leader of the healthcare team in Sanamaksay. Depression, too, is a common condition in the camp. Meanwhile, back to Bangkok, Energy Minister Siri Jirampongpan said the partial collapse of a dam in the Shipan Shinan Noi hydropower project in Laos, Atapu province, will not affect Thailand's power security. He said that since the incident, which caused massive flooding of villages in the Sanamaksay district, the government of Laos has not notified Thailand whether the commercial operation date, initially set for February 2019, will be delayed. The project is initially set to supply 354 megawatts of electricity from Paksi to Ubon, Ratchathani starting in that month. He confirmed that regardless of whether the supply of power from the project will be delayed or not, Thailand's electricity security will remain intact. And staying in Thailand, the country granted citizenship to stateless members of the football team rescued from a cave last month in a saga which gripped the world. The story of the Wild Boars Club has dominated headlines since the 12 boys and their 25-year-old coach went exploring in Tam Luang Cave on June 23 and were trapped deep inside by rising floodwaters, setting off an international search dubbed Mission Impossible. They spent 9 days inside subsisting on rainwater from rocks before being located. Days later, they were extracted in a complex operation in which they were sedated, carried, and stretched out of the waterlogged passages. Thailand is home to around 480,000 stateless people, according to the UN Refugee Agency. The long-ignored issue came into focus during the rescue mission when it was revealed that 4 of those trapped inside lacked citizenship, prompting calls for the government to fast-track applications. Many of Thailand's stateless people are from nomadic hill tribes and other ethnic groups who have for centuries lived around the borders of Thailand, Myanmar, Laos, and China. The family of one of the 4 footballers granted papers. Abdul Somon is from Myanmar's Wa state, a self-governing region. Weeks after the rescue, interest in their ordeal is still strong, and Hollywood-style production houses are racing to take the story to the big screen. To other news now, Cambodia's strongman Premier Hun Sen rejected claims the results from last month's widely criticized election has been falsified, saying he would stake his life on their accuracy. Hun Sen's Cambodian People's Party claimed it won all 125 parliamentary seats in the deeply flawed July 29 poll, cementing the country as a one-party state and extending his 33-year grip on power. Opposition figures had called for a boycott of the vote after the main opposition Cambodia National Rescue Party was dissolved last year in a crackdown that saw one of its leaders charged with treason. Turnout was a whopping 82%, leading Hun Sen to dismiss the campaign to shun ballot boxes as a failure. But independent observers did not take part, and rights groups pointed to voter intimidation. In a speech to athletes in Phnom Penh, the bombastic Hun Sen 66 denied vote cheating and inflating figures of turnout. He dared opposition leaders to join him and swear on their lives over the claims. Some 6.9 million votes were cast in the national election, but nearly 600,000 ballots were spoiled in a sign of resistance to a vote which opposition members called a sham and false. The U.S. threatened to broaden visa restrictions on senior Cambodian officials, while Sam Rainsy, the self-exiled co-founder of the disbanded opposition, described it as a terrible setback. The EU also condemned the election, while China congratulated the people of Cambodia.
sobrang big deal po sa inyong magbigay sa...
Ay, Marcel! Ay, kasali na naman ito talagang paggulo. Huwag naman natin sisihin ng sisihin na puro korap, palibasa nasa Mindanao. Hindi naman totoo yun eh. Kahit paano, nababa namin sa Ilocos yung level ng poverty. Ba't hindi magawa din sa Mindanao? Sobrang kawawa yung mga tao dun eh.
Welcome back. The Philippines has officially taken over from Singapore the role of country coordinator for the China Association of Southeast Asian Nations Dialogue. Foreign Secretary Ala Peter Cayetano said they will be working for an effective code of conduct on the South China Sea. Take a look.
So we are happy to take over as country coordinator of China. We will be doing this job for the next 3 years. And it is an important job because finally the ASEAN member states and China see eye to eye in the need for a effective COC. You know, we've not always agreed about the timing or the need for an effective COC. But now everyone in the region agrees, and of course our strategic partners, our dialogue partners have their concerns, have their ideas, have their national positions, and that will be helpful in molding the COC. But it's very important that we get this done so that we can be good neighbors to each other and not allow irritants in the relationship to be the sum total of our relationships. So let me just clear that up. No one is expected to turn his back or her back on their national position. Whatever their stand is on territorial claims and on sovereignty rights, whether it's in accordance with historical rights, it's in accordance with UNCLOS, it's in accordance with whatever basis, we don't expect countries to suddenly see the situation different. But we expect a mechanism where we'll be able to deal with each other effectively, put this irritant or this dispute in one level of our relationship, but at the same time turn the South China Sea into a zone of peace, stability, and development. A very, very low-lying fruit is the marine ecology or environment.
Meanwhile, he also expressed his gratitude to Acting Chief Justice Antonio Carpio and Representative Gary Alejano from the Magdalo party list for their statements on the possible joint exploration with China in the West Philippine Sea. Carpio earlier told the government to make sure that the country's sovereignty would not be compromised in the proposed 60-40 sharing scheme with Beijing. Alejano, meanwhile, warned that a joint exploration with Beijing would solidify its claim on the contested waterway. Let's take a listen.
So when it comes now to the Philippines, I'd just like to thank Justice Carpio and Congressman Alejano. I heard their statements about the possible joint exploration and joint development. Let me just make this reiteration. Number one, I will confirm to them that any agreement will be in accordance with the Philippine Constitution. We cannot come up with any agreement that is unconstitutional. That is just not cannot be done. You know, we are representing government, and government's framework, of course, is confined to the Philippine Constitution. Number two, sabi kasi nung iba, why didn't you start negotiating with 100% or 80%? You know, there are standard contracts in the oil and gas industry, and many of these are 50-50. But it depends on the capital and the technology that you put in, or technical expertise. So what I've said is not 60-40 alone. What I said is that our starting proposition, the Philippine starting proposition, is malampaya. if any country, including China, is willing to give us in disputed areas the same that we got from Malampaya, how can anyone argue that we lost some of our sovereign rights? Because sovereign rights is economic rights. No? And even international experts say that exercising, enjoying your sovereign rights or economic entitlements is a way of using UNCLOS or implementing the arbitration award. That's why I really don't know where it came from when former President Aquino said, wala naman tayong obligasyon sa China.
ASEAN celebrated its 51st anniversary at the ASEAN Secretariat with a series of community and youth engagement events, celebrating solidarity and continued unity and integration across borders. The celebration was highlighted by a commemorative ceremony in the morning, attended by Foreign Minister of Indonesia Retno Marsudi, the Minister of Agrarian Affairs and Spatial Planning of Indonesia, Sofyan Jalil, representatives of ASEAN member states' dialogue partners, the diplomatic corps, civil society, international organizations, and entities associated with ASEAN. Take a listen.
Next year, we hope to have more activities such as partnering with civil society organizations and private sector to conduct more community outreach on ASEAN Day. For example, there is a regional budget carrier which offers promotional fares to ASEAN destinations on this day. This enables better connectivity between countries which promote economic, political, and social security integration. Ladies and gentlemen, this building has witnessed many historic events and dignitaries since its inauguration in 1976. This year alone, I hosted the Premier of China, Li Keqiang, the Princess of Thailand, Foreign Minister of Brazil, Japan, Netherlands, Timor-Leste, and among others. We look forward to moving to a new building by mid-2019, marking an era of modernization of ASEC and charting the next course of our future. The new building not only represents physical transformation of ASEC and ASEAN, but it's also paved the way for more integrated and conducive community-type atmosphere. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are proud to launch 2 youth-related events and an artistic residencies program. This program developed the next generation of talents across boundaries, and I'm pleased to see the private sector and our development partner comes together to support us in building ASEAN youth and community, strengthening our ASEAN motto, one ASEAN, one vision, one identity, and one caring and sharing community.
I have a strong conviction that, first, ASEAN-led processes attract and provide concrete avenues for countries in the region to cooperate in resolving our common challenges. No major power was absent in the meeting. Second, our principle, vision, and outlook for cooperation in the region have been and are carried out successfully. By now, the TEC has been accessed by 37 countries from around the globe. They adhere the principle and outlook ASEAN wants to project. We cannot afford to let ASEAN move further away, let alone disconnected from its own constituent, the people. The first three words inscribed in the preamble of ASEAN Charter are precisely "we the peoples." That is our soul as an association. There are ways and means we can ensure ASEAN relevance to its people. First, continue with our robust economic development at all levels, national and regional. Economic development is key to unlocking opportunities and enhancing prosperities. Our success in bringing prosperity will earn the much needed trust from the people and stronger support for ASEAN. Second, invest more in our people. Allow more interaction and cooperation among themselves. Our job here is to ensure greater facilitation of the people-to-people, especially among youth and businesses. And third, protect our people. Cooperation in promoting democracy, respecting human rights are also very important. And fourth, as I often find myself repeating, walk the talk. We are not lacking in terms of plan of action for cooperation. We just need to renew our political will to make them actionable.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Alma Angeles, always one with 25.